Hey everybody, what up? It's Scuff D here, and the midnight hour is drawing near. It's 11:53 on my phone if you can't tell, and I'm up late because I'm watching the minutes tick by for Lodge Wars Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, Round 7, and it might end with a whimper as opposed to a bang. We've got some scheduling issues and conflicts to kind of go, and I don't know if we're all going to get our games in and done before this time works. So in the meantime, I am going to be doing a recruit level video here. So if you don't know what Lodge Wars is, you can feel free to take a look at some of the other Lodge Wars videos I have. It's a tournament series basically with lodges and players in the game. And if you know what terror is, then you don't need to be watching this, I guess. Terror is the mechanic that we're going to be talking about, which makes sense why we're up at midnight. Helps explain why I'm still awake on a work day. So let's get into it. Now, the terror mechanic is in fact exclusive currently to the Night Lords. I went ahead and just threw together a quick Sevatar deck. Why Sevatar? Because why not? I don't get to play with him enough, and one thing I've enjoyed with these recruit level videos is just being able to, hang on here. Well, I keep dropping the camera. Just being able to, play with warlords I don't normally get to use, so that's been enjoyable. So just about every card I've got in here has terror. A lot of them are useless. I'm not gonna lie. Some of these guys you wouldn't normally include in your decks. A 1 with a 1 health. These guys have got potential, I guess. Let's take a look at what terror is first. Terror is when attacking, troops with lower attack don't retaliate. So it's kind of like a bastardized version of a sneak attack. So long as that troop has got, for instance, this guy's got a 3 attack, so if he's attacking any troop with 2 or less attack, he basically has sneak attack. They're not going to do damage to him. However, terror only works on troops. It does not work on warlords. So if he attacks a warlord, even though he's got 3 attack, he's going to physically attack the warlord, and the warlord's going to strike back and thus killing him. So terror in of itself is limited. It's limited to scaring troops and keeping the board clear. It's what the Night Lords do. They're spooky. They not necessarily cowards. They just prefer to exercise prudence when executing warfare, and if they get to derive some sort of benefit from terrifying their foes, then so be it. So let's take a look. Oh, hang on here. Is my guy on? My opponent is Azrael 44. For Lodge Wars, I've got 1 game with him done. Out of our 3, I've got 1 victory up, but I don't think we're going to be able to finish here. So let's go into with the Sevatar deck. Let's just do an easy game here. Get rid of these guys, get some other guys here. Recon Claw will help us benefit quickly from terror. Sevatar's ability isn't going to come in much handy right off the bat. However, with his ability, his ability later on, being able to give -2/-0 to an enemy troop in conjunction with Recon Claw, I might be able to easily show you what terror does. Now, a lot of the perfect. A lot of the here we go. So we'll drop him to 2. We'll happen to give this guy flank. Now he's got 3, and that's got 2. And you get a little bad animation, a little spooky spook. There you go. That's terror. That's what it does. There's not much more to it than that. I gotta get him below 3 attack for something there to happen. I don't know if I'm gonna make that work. What can we do here? What can we do here? Here's what we can do. Poop, pop, zip, zop, and there. Now he's got 3. I'm not gonna be able to do anything with that, so we'll just build this up. This is just being silly. But this is what the Night Lords do. They have got that. They rely on that. If you'll notice, they're low health. A lot of these guys, especially with the terror, have got low health. That is definitely the case. Let's get rid of this here as quickly as we can. Now he's got terror. He's going to drop that with the secondary, kind of reducing the attack. And there's that. And then we're still going to just make this guy can't attack. I don't like that until I get one of these bigger guys out with the attack. A lot of their lower level guys have got terror. And then their higher level guys, there's a few that have got it. Their abilities are a little bit different. And again, you take a look at the Night Lords card by card. There's just some disjointed play. It's hard to really capitalize on terror. You can definitely use it with some select cards in mind. These guys will be a perfect example of that. You don't normally pack Night Scythes with Recon Claws because generally by the time you use them, Recon Claw is the only thing that's out there, and these guys have to destroy a troop of 2 attack or less, which would be the Recon Claw, and then everybody loses and nobody's happy. So what they do is, early on, they spook up the field, they get rid of the weaker guys, and they bring in your bigger guys. You're not going to find terror in any other legion currently. It's not in any other legion. It is, like I said, exclusive to the Night Lords, which is kind of neat. That's their thing. That's what they do, and they're fairly good at it. Let's do these guys. Why not, right? Because if we can flank them, take no damage, and just clear a board. Now he's only got 1 card left. That's kind of neat, isn't it? Yeah, sure. This is just an easy bot game. But you've seen how terror works. So long as they don't have ways to get rid of my guys, they're going to have to throw bodies at me. And they've got to be strong enough bodies. Otherwise, my guys are just going to consistently outclass them. Which is what we're doing here. We're going to keep this out. And let's see, let's bring out the Hunt Master, and now I can actually use my ability with my 3 attack. Not really wise. I'm down 8 health. Oh, that's right. I'm thinking we're fighting Horus, and here we're fighting Abaddon. Ooh, well, that would explain a little bit of something, wouldn't it? Okay, well, let's do here. We got flank, and let's just chew the crap out of this missile battery with our big beefy guys. And I'm not going to attack right now. I'd like to, but I'm going to take more damage on that than I wish. I'm going to have to close the differential before I do anything there, and that's okay. Now, we'll go ahead and just show off here. As we've seen with the terror, we've chewed up his troops with reckless abandon, easy peasy. But when I go to attack his warlord, because it's not a troop, I'm gonna eat the damage on that, and then I lose my guy. So it's limited. It's limited in how you use it and how you approach it. Your best bet, really, with terror, and is just to look at each of the troops that have it and decide, okay, how are you best going to use them? How are you best going to use these cards? You know, I don't want to do that because that'll drop me into Vengeful Spirit mode. I'll wait. Can you do that with any enemy troops? So not even a warlord on that. Oof. Yuck. Well, it is what it is. I got the game on this one with the Raven. The Raven is the closer for the Night Lords. But that's all there is to it. There's really not a whole lot to what they do. Given the fact that it is exclusive to the Night Lords, it's not like you can say, oh, just take cards with sneak attack on them or something like that. That's the whole point of what the Night Lords have. They're exchanging either ways to drop attack, to exploit their terror, or they've got cards with high attack but low health to exploit terror. They don't have any other way currently to give their own troops terror. Currently in game, there's no way to give troops terror, so they build up a board presence with a fragile troop state, or you build your deck different ways and really capitalize on these big guys to lock it down and use your smaller guys, your smaller fast troops, or different ways to kind of help make your stuff spooky. An all-terror deck is probably not the best way to go. It really isn't. And as you've seen, many of their troops have got low health. And while it's great to, get rid of their troops, if you want to be attacking your opponent's warlord, you're not going to get return value off of a terror attack as you would a sneak attack, which is just regardless of whether you're attacking a warlord or not, regardless of whether their attack is less than yours or not. So in terms of mechanics goes, terror's not terrible. It's not great either. It's probably just a mediocre little niche thing, and it's nice and it's neat, and when it works wonderful. As you saw, there's a couple times in there where I dropped a unit's attack to 0 and, could do damage with it and keep the board clear and, take no hits to myself. That's great. But that's not always going to be the case. That's just not always going to be the case. So how do you best utilize terror? You just take a look at the cards that you want to use. Not all of them are great. Personally, I think Tynok Terror Squad is a good one to do. He's got 3 health, so he's very disposable. However, if you can combo him with other fast troops or other troops that are in stealth, he's a great way to keep them alive longer. He'll take the hit, drop the attack of the warlord usually, drop it to -2 after he damages it, and then you can hit with, a couple gold stones and they stay on the table, or you can hit with, some other guys that have got 2 or 3 health or 5 or 6 health, and they don't take any damage, and then they stay on the table too. He's a really good one. I don't think Condrayer is a good one. He's got flank and he's got terror already, but his 2 health is just paltry. It's not going to do you any good against your opponent's warlord. Your definite all-stars here. Headsman is nice. Endra's Endra's Shek is legendary, and he can be a game ender if your opponent has no way to break stealth or no random damage. Your Hunt Masters with these high 6 attack, 4 health even. Yeah, they've actually been bumped up. I think they were 3 health initially. Night Scythes, if it wasn't for that rally effect, if that wasn't optional, these guys would be probably a toss-up auto-include. Reapers of Kaldric are just great. That's a 5 attack, and they've got a beefy health, so even if they're going up against your opponent's warlord, they're going to be on table for a while. Plus, they're a vehicle. And then you've got Kurz's Chosen, which is probably just the cream of the crop in terms of terror troops goes. They are legendary, and there's only one of them, but their passive synergizes with terror amazingly well, and as well as some of the other tactics that they've got in there. So you kind of select which troops you're doing, and then you really just have to look in terms of how you stack your terror. Don't just throw your terror troops away in attacking your opponent's warlord if you can save them for a turn or two and combo. As I said, like with the Tynok Terror Squad, combo them up with a couple troops following their attack, and you do more damage, you keep more troops on the board, and that's really where the that's where the Night Lords can gain power, basically. Hard to do, but it could give you the option for a decent punitive action. Punitive action is kind of, if it was a 4 cost as opposed to a 5, I'd like it a lot more. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about terror. Now, how do you deal with terror? How do you fight against it? That's probably the easiest thing to do, to be honest with you. There's many ways to do it. First and foremost, you just have your troops have higher attack. Now, you know what your opponent's attack has got on their troops. You know that there's only a couple ways for them to increase their attack. They can, however, decrease your attack, so you need to watch out for that. You can either increase the attack of your own cards. For instance, any variety of ways that you can increase the stats of a troop, like with the Emperor's Children, Fabius Bile, Merit's Mercenaries, Caliber Hall, and numerous Mechandrites. Gosh, there's so many ways to increase the stats of your cards. If you can increase the stats of your cards and buff up their attack, sweeping advanced, what's that one Mechanicum card here? Oh, it's new to the game. Cybernetic Cybernetica Cortex. I mean, all these ways increase your card's attack value. That makes it hard for their terror to trigger. That makes it hard for them to be able to properly use terror. That makes them have to spend more tactics and more time and energy in getting your attack lower to properly execute their terror. Otherwise, they're just throwing their troops away, and they have to make that choice if that's what they're going to do. You can also just straight, as you've seen, many of these troops are very low health. You can just direct damage them. Even Curse's Chosen, while they reduce the attack of troops on the table, they're very susceptible to, a Seek and Destroy, Mortar Strike, Seek and Destroy followed by a Crack Grenade. They're very susceptible to that. They've got low health, so they're not invulnerable. They can also just be straight destroyed. You can stun a terror troops so that they can attack. That buys you a little bit of time to increase the tactics of increase the stats of your cards, or to deal with them at a later point. You can throw beefy frontlines. Some of the frontline that are out there, and you might scoff at it at first initially, but if you're running up against Night Lords and terror is giving you a bit of a problem, consider some of these Mechanicum frontline guys who increase their attack during your opponent's turn. Again, this guy goes from a 3/4 to a 6/4, and there's only a couple who can rival that on the Night Lord side without direct tactic intervention. You've got those guys. You've also got the bigger brother here, who can go from a 3/8 to a 7/8. And as we've said with Mechanicum, there's various ways to increase the stats there. So if Night Lords are giving you trouble that way, consider that. Plus, in addition to that, those are troops protecting your warlord. They've got a lot of health. They're doing damage. And if your opponent can't get that terror threshold broken, they're going to be losing troops just to deal with the front line. There's only one destruction card within the Night Lords. So if you know your card pool, you know that the Night Lords don't have ways to get rid of high attack value troops aside from Spectre of Death, and that's a pretty costly card for them. So if you can get your stuff out before they've got 7 energy to blow, and even then you might not see this card every time, you're more likely to see Rule of Fear. And if you can keep your troops with above 2 attack, then you don't have to worry about the Rule of Fear. You shall know no fear. Which I'm looking forward to one day seeing that in the game. That is as a tactic. Probably for the Ultramarines, even though it could go for any of the Astartes, but whatever. We'll go into that some other day. You can jam. Jam works great. Jam is sabotage. That is the neutral that I constantly recommend. You could throw that out there and that would just wreck their day. Plus, in addition, for some of these cards who not only have terror, but like Curse's Chosen, have an amazing passive ability that just would wreck shop. You've got sorry, I'm hearing things in the dark. And now I'm terrified. Now I'm a little spooky, creeped out. That's odd. Okay. If I die before this video is published or after and there's no more videos forthcoming, just know that I don't really like the Night Lords that much. And I'm not scared by the Night Lords. But I am scared by things making noises in my room at midnight by themselves. That's fucking creepy. I don't like it. So, yeah, you can use sabotage, you can jam them, but really the easiest way is just to increase your attack or deal with the threat directly. As you saw Abaddon out there, he can deal straight damage to these troops. They're not untouchable. They don't have stealth. You can bounce them with Melgator, or Ambassador Melgator can bounce them. You can stun them. You can put secret orders on them, which isn't going to do much if you're Alpha Legion. I mean, honestly, we'll talk about secret orders again some other day. Hopefully after they make another errata and change. But it's very simple. It's just a matter of numbers. If your opponent has a terror troop with 5 attack, make sure your troops have 6 attack or higher. Make it harder for him, or find a way to get rid of that troop, and then their little 2 attack guys are not going to do it. If you see that they've got, not too many people play with this tactic here, but if you see that they've got a troop that can lower attack, or like Primarch, there's not much you can do about the Warlord. Kurz has got that as a passive ability. But if you see that they've got these guys on the table, where are they at? I just rolled out the Tynak Terror Squad. Deal with them, because that right there is a way for them to lower attack. That's that. You have that. They could still play terror tactics. They could still play Kurz's Chosen. But if you see a direct way for them to benefit and to increase their potential for terror, get rid of it. Plus, in the long run, Tynak Terror Squad has got a lot of return value, if you ask me. So yeah, so that's it. That's terror. There's not a lot of stuff to it. There's a lot of ways to use it. There's just as many ways to get around it and deal with it. It shouldn't be terrifying to deal with terror, and it shouldn't be too intimidating to play with it. Will it see improvement? Will it see, some new things added to it? I think as time goes on, I think there's definitely some potential. One thing I'd like to see, and maybe if you're running a Night Lords deck, even a Sevatar deck for that matter, well, maybe not Sevatar. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, yeah, this card here, Legacy of Byzaz, both warlords have 0 attack. Well, I mean, if you can put your opponent's warlord to 0, then your terror troops aren't going to be dead when they go to attack them, and then you get more return value out of it. The trade-off on that, obviously, is you're lowering your attack to 0 as well. So you've got to know when to play that. You've got to know if that's going to work for your deck. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see some more options added to that. I definitely like to see some more ways to lower stats, whether it's attack or temporary health reduction, um, or even ways to, give something like the opposite of terror. Like if you have less attack, you do zero damage. I don't know. I mean that's really thinking out there. That might be a little bit too broken on the other side of things. If you have to take damage, it sets an interesting precedence. But again, because it's a bastardized, cheaper version of sneak attack, it's not like the end all be all. But it is nice, it is unique, and it definitely does feel like the Night Lords. You know, you get the little baddie effects, and at the same time, you're kind of picking on the weaker ones, and you're lower in attack, and you're just kind of freaking out your opponent. So there's definitely some thematic stuff there. Anyways, that's it. That's terror. That is the terror mechanic. Next up into it, I mean, really, we've kind of gone through all the legions, we've gone through all the mechanics. Traps and secret orders is next on the agenda for me. As much as I don't think it'll be satisfying for anybody, it is something that needs to be covered, needs to be discussed, and maybe, hopefully, it'll be a little bit enlightening to you. What are traps? What are secret orders? How do they work? Well, the answer is they're not great, and they don't work very well anymore. So, I mean, they didn't work wonderfully to begin with. They were an art form to pull off correctly. You can still make them work, but it is a very niche deck, and very easy to get around. I mean, that's just the best way to put it. We'll go into that in some other time. So that'll be the last thing coming up here, and then hopefully in the next 2 weeks we will be seeing some new icons added on the screen here with the Thousand Suns and the Space Wolves and whatever third faction we're going to be getting. And hopefully with them we'll be seeing some new mechanics to go over and discuss. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching. I hope you gained some information from this. And if you're new to the game, if these recruit level videos have been helping you out, please spread the word. We've got a lot of new players joining the game with the Steam release, and this is beneficial information, especially if you're looking to see, what new factions outside the Sons of Horus can you play? What are you interested in? Do you like Night Lords? Well, what are they about? They've got the terror mechanic. How does that work? Is that something that you want to play with or not? Maybe siege is more up your alley. Maybe stealth. Maybe sentenced. Maybe, any of the things that we've covered. There's a video for everything, and that's not just here. There's a lot of other players making videos out there. It's important that we save. Oh, I've got some software, but it's important that we share that information. So keep it going, keep it circulating. Thanks for tuning in, and keep playing Legions. We'll talk to you later.